Alright, I look like crap today, but I've already made 2 videos, so I'm gonna make this one just because I know people love talking shit and trying to roast people they don't know because you're safe behind a computer screen. So you think. Um, I'm transgender. Well, technically I'm not because I was born with a penis and a vagina, but that's another story. Um, so yes, I'm transgender. No, I'm not a liberal. I'm also not a conservative. I'm also not a libertarian. I'm also not a Republican. I'm also not a Democrat. I don't profess to belong to any one group because I'm a critical thinker and I can think for myself and I don't need a label to describe me. The only reason I say I'm transgender is because that's easier for other people of less intellectual capability to understand. Um, I'm a patriot. I'm part of a patriot group. Um, as well as I have a family. Um, I am very adamant about the support and defense of our country, not so much my state, as I happen to be an American, and I'm very happy. Notice I don't say proud, because that's arrogant. I'm happy to be an American. I've been to plenty of countries. I'm not going to sit here and write the list down for you, because most people don't believe it, and those who do, it doesn't really matter where I've been. I know for a fact we have freedoms here in the United States of America that 99% of countries do not possess. And we can sit here and argue semantics all day of it's the blood of this warrior or this group or this war. Whether that be the case or not in your mind, I will not speak my opinion on it, other than it is the truth. We have freedoms here. I can meet you on the face to face. Feel free, if you know who I am and you know where I am, you can meet me in public. I'll be very nice and cordial to you until you're rude. And then I will call you on it. Not because I'm some Betty Badass or I'm some impervious fucking whatever. It's because if you're gonna be rude, someone needs to return that to you and check you on it. Not so much being rude in return, but calling you out on your crap. There's no reason to judge someone based on a stereotype. Do you know, perfect example, someone in one of the Patriot groups, and I'm not going to mention it, one of my buddies decided to have me go and critique a video that they had posted on a certain social media website. And I said nothing negative, nothing derogatory towards their group. Well, I simply critiqued based on my professional knowledge of certain skills they were professing they had knowledge of, which according to the video they don't, which doesn't make me feel any safer in their hands. But I don't sling mud, I simply look at the facts as they stand. And their response was, and I'm quoting verbatim, "What would you know, you flat blob thing? You have no military experience." You're correct. I've never been in the military. I have, however, been a private contractor, a civilian who worked very closely with the military around the world. I've also been to countries where our military was not allowed to go. And that's what we did more often than not. We didn't spend a lot of time in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, where we went, not really going to get into. Legally, I can't say anything. And secondly, it's none of your damn business. Truth of the matter is, you'd be shocked where a lot of private military companies go. Not as far away as you'd think. You could probably walk to some of these countries, if you know what I mean. That said, seeing the type of skill sets that people believe will keep them and others safe shows the lack of knowledge, the lack of commitment to gaining knowledge. And it also shows the level of arrogance that some people believe will keep them as protectors. People assume because I'm transgender, one, I'm Antifa. I think that's funny. because those who know me know my standpoint on special interest groups, and I don't support them in the least. I don't actively go out and try to disrupt them. However, anyone who enacts violence is on the top of my list. That said, being transgender, they also assume that I support certain politicians who didn't uh, win the dice roll, shall we say. Working for Department of Defense, you tend to learn how the system works, and voting doesn't matter, but we're not going to get into that. It's a money game, and it's that simple. Being transgender, people also assume I'm some child molester. That's one reason I carry a gun with me, among other things. If you think you're an alpha male, which if you're an alpha male, you wouldn't do this anyhow, and by guarding the bathroom, you're somehow going to, one, stop me from going in and urinating or defecating, like the other individuals in said restroom are possibly doing. That doesn't end well for you. That does not end how you planned it, and it definitely makes you look like a monster at the end of it. Assuming that I'm some sort of sexual predator or deviant not only proves your level of ignorance and lack of overall knowledge of the world, but it also shows that your frontal cortex has failed to evolve into a functional format for today's world. On top of that, being transgender, I face a lot of difficulties in the patriot movement that it's kind of a cross between what the women in patriot groups deal with and what most minorities would deal with in certain groups. Only worse. Many males who claim to be alphas, again, who are not, obviously through their lack of self-awareness and security, seem to think that I am... God, I can't even say that on YouTube, and I wouldn't want to. They assume I'm a homosexual male. My fiance and her girlfriend and her boyfriend would tell you different. I'm not into men. Sorry. Sucks. You lost a cool gun chick, but it is what it is. I don't like dudes like that. I can be friends with someone. You know, I'm used to the male camaraderie because for 12 years I had to pretend to be badass. And you know what, dude? I'm gonna fuck your shit up. That's not who I am. Am I capable of switching on and doing some horrible damage to someone who's threatening others? Oh, yeah. Again, plenty of people who know me have seen what I'm capable of. But I don't need to sit here and try and be some badass bro friend just so you don't feel threatened. Because your masculinity is so fragile and so insecure and so feather light that my existence in your bubble makes you feel some need to assert a dominance that you don't possess in the first place, but so you can put on airs to others. These are the things I experience being transgender. Also, assuming that I support or / defend groups such as Antifa or BLM or whatever you want to call is presumptuous, although the vast majority of my group tend to be swinging in that direction. There are quite a few transgenders who do not fall into that category, who are veterans, who are former contractors, who are pretty much the same type of person I am, who fall into that conservative or libertarian group. So some of them actually do porn, believe it or not. For those of you men who are closeted and like transgender porn, but like to act like you're some alpha male who's secure in your well-being and masculinity, who hates trannies, which, by the way, is a very derogatory term, but I don't really care because words don't hurt me. I'm also not shaken by physical stature or gruff voices or people trying to be loud. Those things don't intimidate me. Once you're used to being around certain types of people for an extended period of time, you can pick a Billy badass away from a real true badass. A true alpha or badass doesn't have to sit here and posture and scream and raise their voice and get in your face and regale you with all their, oh God, triumphs and trophies and accomplishments. It speaks for itself in their behavior and the way they carry themselves. Um, Being a transgender woman used to alpha male dominated territories is interesting in the civilian world. And by civilian world, I mean, from hanging out with Marines and soldiers in war zones and dealing with cartels and mafioso and people like that around the world, and then coming back here to my home country and being treated like some sort of monster or mutant or freak or sexual predator by people who really don't know me. Doesn't upset me. It doesn't trigger me. It's just interesting to see how little people know and how much they assume. And it's pretty comical. I avoid a lot of social situations due to that and my personal mental trauma from going around the world. I also know I have an extremely low tolerance for people, especially when they presume to know things. I have gotten in a couple of physical confrontations because someone decided to try and assert a dominance they didn't possess. And for my own safety, I had to turn into someone I thought I'd never be in a very long time. But we have to accept these parts of our personality as what they are. And, when you assume, you're kind of going off half-cocked and not aiming. It's kind of like pulling up a rifle and hoping to hit something with your eyes closed. And if you miss, which you usually do when your eyes are closed, the other person's better.